Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about understanding the divide between king, court, and commoner. All right. This content contains spoilers for Bel Air 2022. All right, so there's a divide in Dungeons and Dragons commentary. Okay, so there are easily 1,000 Dungeons and Dragons commentators on YouTube, like flat out, end of sentence. Okay, and they fall into two camps. Okay, they each have a banner, right, and you will find specific speech on their channels. The first is the most common, okay, and it's the following: Session 0, talk to your players, and Session 0, talk to your players, and whatever you do is fine. You do what you want. Oh, here it is. It's just a game. Have fun. That's the last one, okay? It's Session 0, talk to your players. It's just a game. Have fun. You can do whatever you like, right? You will find it everywhere, right? It's just like bog standard, okay? I would say it's probably 70-80% of the commentary out there, right? It's so deep, right? Like Sly Flourish is one of them, and Ginny D is one of them, and they say the same thing so often. Both of them have said in their video, they've literally apologized for saying again, talk to your players. They're like, I know they say this for everything. I know I say Session 0 100 times. I know I say it's just a game. You could do whatever you like, right? Like it's an echo chamber, right? Like, and it's just absolutely constant. And it's so annoying. Like, they literally have to apologize to their own viewers for it because they know they're just saying the same thing, right? And and they don't stop to think, why do I have to say the things? Why do I have to say the same thing? Why don't people do it? They never stop, like, to think. I've said this 100 times. People aren't doing it. Why? They don't stop. They just keep saying the same thing, right? Then you have the second camp. Don't. Do this. Don't do that, right? There is a right path, right? There is a right way and a wrong way. Do this. Don't do that. If you do this, you will excel. If you do this, your game will fail, right? Not all nonsense, your nonsense and my nonsense, it's not going to serve. You must strive to do it right. And you can absolutely do it wrong, right? Two paths. I'm on this second path, right? RPG Elite, he's on this path, right? And many other commentators are like, there's a right way, there's a wrong way to play, right? Period. And we strive for excellence, right? Whatever pablum you want to serve up ain't gonna cut it, right? Like, there's better and there's worse, right? The second path, right? So the do-don'ts and the talk to your player crowd, right? Like, and both of them look at each other, right? The talk to the player crowd is like, oh, why do you guys get so bent out of shape and tell people how to play their game, right? That the way they're doing it is wrong. If they're having fun, why tell them they're wrong, right? And then we look over and we're like, what are you doing, right? Like, Session 0 is like 10 years old and has 100 problems associated with it, right? Jennifer Kretschmer has already said that it's probably, in many cases, it was traumatic for players to talk about things that they, that were traumatic for them, right? Like, and Session 0, and it's not even new. Why talk about it? It's 10 years later, right? Like, it took 7 years for them to put it into the D&D book, right? And talk to your players is like, literally, it's just a clanging gong. Like, who needs to hear it again? Even they understand that like, it's a drum that's been beat so often, like, the rims are wearing off, right? And so basically, and we look over and we're like, why do you guys not, why are you telling people that whatever they want to do is fine, and then you keep doing commentary? If whatever they want to do is fine, what's the point of you even talking, right? Like, so we both look at each other and we're like, why do you do it the way you do it, right? Well, I have a clearer understanding. All right, so I've been watching Bel Air 2022, and it is a fantastic show, and it shows Will Smith, the main character, right, and Carlton, right? So Will comes from West Philly into Carlton's California world, and from the gate, like from literally the second they meet, Carlton's like, I know what you are, right? I know what you are. You're here for what's mine. And Will confirms it in like 2 minutes. He's like, I'm going to be king of your school. I'm going to be king of your family. I'm going to be king of California. I'm up, you down. Period. Right? And so here's the division, right? Will Smith is saying, Carlton, I'm going to rule you, right? Like, and Carlton's like, you in my world, I'm going to rule you, right? Now, the two D&D camps, right? The talk to your player crowd would be like, Carlton and Will Smith should just live in harmony. They can both make a space for themselves. Carlton doesn't need to go down for Will to go up, right? Okay. I get it now, right? I understand because the show shows you why in order for Will to go up, Carlton has to go down, right? Here's why. They say it in the first 3 seconds of the show, right? The show opens with Will Smith having a dream, and he's at the end of this long corridor, and on his head is a crown, and right behind him is a 10-foot crown put on the wall. That's the reason why the divide exists. King, court, commoner, okay? The people saying, do this, don't do that, are saying, I will be king, right? My game will be the best game of Dungeons and Dragons ever played, and I will put other games beneath my game. I will be at the top, and other games will be at the bottom, right? And the others are saying, I'm a commoner. I grow my crops in my field. I give a portion of my crops every year to the king, right? And they're like, I'm a commoner and you're a commoner. So when you hear the person saying, talk to your players, they're saying, be a commoner. Don't get into the battle for the crown. That's the division, right? And I agree with Bel Air 2020. When you go for the crown, right, you don't get there. You do not get to the crown, right? Nobody hands it to you. It's called King of the Hill. You have to shove people to the bottom, and at the top, there's only room for one. That's the division. That's why we look at each other so differently. The commoners are like, why don't you want to be a commoner like us? And the people who are going for the top and saying, no one's content will be better than mine. No one's D&D, no dungeon master will be in my area, in my nation, in this world will run a better game than me. I will put every game below mine, right? It's the people who are like, it's the Carltons and the Will Smiths who are saying, I will not be a commoner. I will get that crown. It will go on my head. So now you, understanding this, have to choose. Do you listen to people who give you advice to make you and your game a common game? Or do you listen to advice that makes you either Will Smith or Carlton? Because only one going to win, right? Are you willing to lose and be second? Maybe you end up in the court, right? Carlton's going to end up in the court, right? He ain't never going to be a commoner, right? Or are you going to be Will Smith and your game is going to be the top game in your area and you will take players from other dungeon masters in your area? Or are you going to be the best in your country, or are you going to be the best in your world, right? There are multiple kings. There are multiple kingdoms, right? We do have, so there can be more than one king in different spheres. But in Dungeons & Dragons, there's only going to be one game at the top. Right now, where's that crown? It's sitting on Matt Mercer's head, right? And the reality is, and you ain't ever going to get there if you can't master your own game, right? So you may be saying, I'm going to be king in my area, I may be king in my nation, I may be king in the world, right? But the reality is, you have to decide now. Do you listen to people that will make make you and your game a commoner game? Or do you listen to people who are going to make your game king, right? Or you're going to fall back to the court. Because if you go for the king side, guess what? Nobody can stop you from being a commoner. You can achieve that goal, right? Carlton and Will, one of them going to lose. One's going to be king, one's going to be court, right? Now, neither one of them ever going to be a commoner, right? So that's the division, and that's the decision you have today. What's your decision? I'd love to hear it. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.